Welcome Anuruddh to my video series. This is one off because I've never had someone who runs a really large consumer AI startup. A lot of the people who come on the platform are more engineers, researchers, even VCs, but like this is something very exciting. So thank you for making time for this.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Okay, first question. Since we met for the AI companion meetup and you just very casually said that I've interviewed 400 people and I took one person. Like, what's
Yeah.
up with that? What's happening there, basically?
You mean engineers?
Yeah, hiring wise, like, trying to kind of ask, is it that what you're building is extremely challenging, or are we not having good talent, or what is it that you needed to kind of go through or talk to 400 people before you finalize someone to help you with your startup?
Okay. I think the multiple aspects to that question, right? And see, a lot of how we're building as founders today is we're taking a series of bets, not just on what type of company we want to build, right? But also on how we're building that company, because the way that you build the technology that you use, all of that is also changing, and then you're building on top, right? uh, which means you have to take a punt on this is the direction I think this is how my team should be. And what my bet has been is one, yes, we're solving something that is extremely hard, right? Like you're building consumer facing AI in healthcare. Safety is important, accuracy is important, right? But a lot of what we do when we use intelligence in any system, and I don't specifically mean August here, right? Anybody that's using a large language model to accomplish something is they're solving alignment problems, right? Because at the end of the day, whether you're fine tuning or using an off the shelf foundational model, what you're inherently doing is aligning that intelligence towards a goal. Right. And when you look at like a product like August, there are multiple points of intelligence that do different things and you're aligning them towards a goal, which is a very different way of thinking than sort of, hey, I can write code, right? A lot of engineering shifts from like we only had backend engineering for the longest time. The product was shipped on WhatsApp. There's no sort of front end overhead, just a sort of very heavy backend problem to solve. But you have to go in there and sort of make sure that your AI is essentially aligned properly, which means context engineering and behavior engineering, right? Rather than traditional. And over time, that's also like you take a bet sort of forward looking, right? So, okay, AI can write code at this level. It is going to get to sort of this other level. And that is playing out, right? It's getting better to a place where it can build an entire feature or an entire product. And I want a team that can actually scale into it.
So you're saying not just engineers, but system thinkers, because coding is anyway kind of partially being done by AI now.
Yeah. So my hiring that way is a bit different, right? And it's something I think that feels right to me, which is like you need people who think in systems but are also very, very obsessed,
But
right?
also very, very
Obsessed. Because when you're looking at accuracy and you're saying take this 98% accuracy to 99, that's a lot of iterations on the same problem.
fair enough. And there's a reason I asked you this question the first is because what you're building requires extreme level of responsibility. AI, West AI now has, I think, 4 million users, 3.5 to 4 million users, right? Have I got this correct?
We're about to hit 5 million.
Hey, when we met last, it was 3.5. Oh, wow, that's amazing, by the way, on the growth bit as well. Okay, so it's going to reach 5 million users, right? So one story is story and 100 is a statistics kind of thing, but each one is actually dealing with a health anxiety. So at this point, the question was what or who are these people in whose hands this responsibility lies? The reason I was very fascinated when you said this is because if you're picking one out of 400, this is just anecdotal, but still, then I think the point I'm trying to drive is that you're already being very mindful of the kind of stuff you're building, right? And the kind of responsibility you hold. So that's one bit that stayed with me. And so I wanted to always ask you why you took this long to kind of find that one engineer. The next thing I want to ask you is this purely, you did tell me that you were misdiagnosed and, so this kind of motivated you to kind of explore it, but was it just that, or you felt like you are kind of at a very good, since you also program, you understand AI, you were one of the early ones to observe it. It's been 3 years that August is in work in progress. Like, did you also see a business opportunity first, or was this purely out of this motivation that no one else should go through this again?
No, I think the misdiagnosis shifted my attention to healthcare, right? Like there is a category called healthcare that I can look at and I should look at. So it was more the thing that turned me in that direction, right? And typically I'm obsessed with like problem statements. And when you look at healthcare, it's a very, very hard problem statement because there's a massive amount of money that's flowing, right? From a capital point of view. From a regular human point of view, there is a lot of we avoid it because it's scary. And then when we get into it, there's a lot of information asymmetry, right? Nobody wants to talk about healthcare until they need it. And then you look at the system itself, and the system is very, very resource constrained, right? We don't have the number of doctors that we need, which then sort of as an outcome leads to all of the other constraints in the system. And together we've ended up at like with a system where like if you go to a hospital, that hospital only stops making money when they either cure you or you die. If a hospital sort of doesn't cure you entirely or you have a complication, right? They make more money. Now, I don't mean this to say that this is what hospitals are doing. I'm saying that like anybody that is even running a hospital constantly has to fight this battle, right? Because this is the incentive structure
Yeah.
that is set for
Yeah.
healthcare as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah. I was
And
going to say incentives are not aligned.
yeah. And when you think about that for a very long time, right? And like every single route that you can see to sort of trying to break this, you end up in a couple of situations, right? You either go towards concierge medicine, right? Because I will give like a great experience. Kalyani will pay some amount of money. There'll be a doctor who will be accessible to her 24/7. I'll give her really good care. That basically just takes all of your people that have money, right, takes this already scarce resource and tries to fit some percentage of that to these people that can pay, with the vast majority being left behind, right? So there's a problem there when you try to sort of improve any quality in healthcare, right? And then the other side, there's like people that don't have access to healthcare at all. And how do you even get them access? There are places where you can't even get doctors to go and live because they are human beings with families with their own career that want to live their life a certain way, right? And so every single time you try to make like a capitalistic approach to solving healthcare, you either end up sort of serving like a very small rich minority or essentially falling into this same incentive structure. And if you try, like if you want to break it, then my bet is that you have to create massive amounts of abundance. And what we're trying to do with August is essentially that, right? Like August as an AI health companion can be scaled relatively cheaply to every single person on the planet.
Understood that, Anuruddh. I'm saying if there were 15 people who could solve this, why do you feel like you were the one who should be solving it?
I don't think that's how entrepreneurs think, right? Because what I was trying to communicate was that I saw a bunch of paths, right? All of them led to the same problem. I saw a solution, which was you create abundance. You attack this sort of problem statement of humans are the scarcest resource. I just decided to go after it.
So when I was writing this whole piece on AI companionship, if you remember, I sent it to you for proofreading, and you said we're symptom checking app and not diagnosing. How does that work? Like, how do you maintain that boundary setting when a patient or someone is dealing with real anxiety? You don't want to say no, that we cannot do this for you. At the same time, you know that certain things need to be checked with the doctor. So, what is that internal routing mechanism that helps you set that boundary?
No, first you have to make peace with the fact that you absolutely have to say no. We can't do this for you. One of the main things you have to look at when you're building a product like August is that engagement is not going to be a North Star. Because if engagement is your North Star, then you're just doing everything to sort of get the person to come back. We know why AI is a sycophant. Why do they never push back? So August has to absolutely say, hey, I can't do this for you. You seem to be in a situation that I cannot help with, right? Then you can go into the depth of like, how do you handle that situation? How do you handle that conversation? But you absolutely have to say no.
Which is why you're saying the decision is very clear in your head that this is not about how long they stay on the chat.
Yeah.
Got it. And how does it, this, I somewhere know this answer because of the interaction we've had, but like still want to understand how is this different from general purpose AI. And I know the most commonly asked question to you would be like, why can't I do this on chat GPT? Like, what's really the crux here that's working for you, which has 4 million users obviously using it?
There are a couple of things, right? So one, why do we think it's different, right? A lot of that the is not immediately obvious to the person. We're a lot more accurate than any other AI out there, right? When it comes to having conversations around your health. And that is in every single way possible, right? So we have like state of the art accuracy in handwriting recognition, right? So very specifically for prescription, right? So everything from ingesting all sorts of information, we're able to do that with extreme accuracy. And then holding that conversation and getting you to sort of what is the right conclusion. And we have extensive like benchmark evals that we've done to sort of make sure that that those things actually work. That's fun. But from the user's point of view, right? They don't have to prompt engineer with August, right? And you could have like a disease that lasts a couple of days. You could have one that lasts a couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years. Right? Every single time when you're using August, you just type whatever you want to type. You don't have to be like, hey, this is my entire medical history. This is what is happening. I was diagnosed with this when I was 2 years old. And then hope that you get to something.
So that's the memory part, right? Is there any different architecture you're using for memory, or it just works like a very simple database management system or a RAC?
Memory is an absurdly hard problem, specifically for the kind of format that we've chosen. So what ends up happening is like one version of memory is not enough. We have like multiple different versions of memory that work together. In our case, it's also multi-profile, right? So you could be talking about multiple people. We need to maintain clean, separate memory for different people. And yeah, I mean, we've had to custom build everything. The easiest way to understand it is think of an EHR platform, but it's a lot more complex than that. Like we've been working on memory for close to 2 years now, and we still don't think we've solved it as well as we could. By the way, it's not just a memory problem; it's also a conversation style thing, right? Like August asks you questions, it performs like a proper medical interview, which allows us to just get a lot more relevant information from the person. It's my waking nightmare most days.
Okay. Yeah, I was also spending a lot of time last in June, July, August just to try and understand um like how can LLMs proceed like dead ends technically at some point if memory is not solved for, if like real world interaction is not solved for. And that time I realized maybe memory fixing or solving for memory needs a very different way of thinking about architecture itself, not just about like it's not just database management at this point, right?
Not at all.
Yeah, so I'm just
In
saying
healthcare, it's worse, by the way. You have to forget things.
I have this question with you also, like, we'll come to that later so that I don't break the flow of the conversation. Is this about just inclusion and access, or is there genuine knowledge gaps that doctors are not able to do well or fill well that August really does well? What does August do well? So it's not even if I had access and I could get best quality advice with a doctor, what is that thing that gets August a priority? Why should I pick August? I'm not asking you to pitch. I'm just saying what is the knowledge gap that it's solving for?
I think it's the access gap primarily, right? As like the first thing, right? That it solves the access gap because you can text August whenever you want, right? How much ever you want. And that becomes important for a lot of people because that's true for you and that's true for the person that doesn't have access to any sort of healthcare as well, right? The knowledge gap is different because I think like there's a more sort of where can AI go to, which is like can AI become a doctor kind of conversation, which I don't think it's relevant to get into right now in terms of what does it actually solve on top of what a doctor armed with AI can do.
Yeah, this question wasn't from that perspective. Obviously, doctor with AI is obviously a lot more powerful than just AI or just doctor. Am I correct about that statement?
No. All of the research points to AI alone performing better, which is not digestible, but currently true.
How do you convince doctors, if you have any on the team, to help you knowing that the AI does perform better on all benchmarks compared to the doctor? And
I try
doctor
to.
with AI also, you're saying. Doctor with AI, how would doctor with AI kind of lose over just AI is what I'm trying to understand.
So there's a couple of research papers to look at around this, right? I think Google published one of the earlier ones where they were looking at like AI, doctor plus AI, and doctor alone, right? But here's an interesting way to think about it, right? You and I are playing chess with very powerful chess engines on our side.
Hmm.
I decide I'm not going to make a single move. If you even make one move in that game, you're going to lose.
Got it. You're saying this can be extrapolated to the doctor healthcare scenario.
Yes.
Okay. And just want to circle back to the first 10,000 users. Like, where were they from? What was because early adopters, it's very different. You may have got some learning. So I know it's been a while. It's been almost 3 years. But are you able to recollect your first 10,000 users? How did you get them? What were some of your like key learnings or breakthrough moments when you were talking to those 10,000 people? If you were talking to them at all, like.
So I think once we launched, got our first like 300-400 users off of Bumble, and
Like
that
what?
was
For what?
Bumble.
Bumble,
Yes,
a dating app.
yes.
How?
One of my team
Who's in
members
your
created.
team that's so good looking? Whose bio said this?
Hey, you haven't met my team yet.
That's why I'm asking, who is it? This I should meet this person is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, so one of my team members created a profile on Bumble, and then she asked a lot of people to try the product, and it was a very easy way to get feedback from like really smart people.
Hmm.
So that did help, right? But then we had like a corpus. So when I was building August and I was trying to figure out like the voice of August, I had done like medic like health consultations with about 1,500 people, right? And I'd spent like 2 hours talking about their health with them. So that I think that set of people were like already very invested in what we were doing as a company. So they gave us like the next set of users, and then from there we got to a place where I think for the first 6 months we were only letting 30 people in a day.
Okay.
Largely because if I'm sitting here and I'm saying accuracy is important and safety is important, right? Then I need to tune the accuracy and the safety before I sort of let people. So I don't know about my first 10,000. I know that it was like 8,000 people by December. And then once we opened up the platform in January, it sort of just took off from there.
This is when you were still having an app? Like the app was equally like running on its own, or this was when you had was your 10,000 people off WhatsApp is what I'm trying to ask. Your first
Yeah.
WhatsApp. Okay,
Yeah.
you were always WhatsApp first. I think you did mention that you had an app or you have an app, but WhatsApp is your main thing.
So we have an app now because I mean, we're expanding into other geographies that are maybe not WhatsApp first. But we started on WhatsApp because humans talk to other humans on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Right? So if you want to get good at your AI communicating like a human, you don't want the person to figure out your interface. You want to be on an interface where they're already used to talking to other people so that the behavior is the same.
Okay, which brings me to the conversational style. Did you ever go back retrospectively ask them if they felt it was an AI versus, the tone of language was always this natural, like how it is right now?
Yeah, we've kept the
It
like
was never the form style and all. Because a lot of people say they have built chatbots, but I don't know the earlier version, right? I've only used this year's version, which is why I'm asking you this question. But they're never a pick one option kind of situation, right? It was never a form.
have you ever sent a form to somebody on WhatsApp?
I have only in the case where it's very urgent, like the delivery asks, are you at the location? Do this, do that, all of that. But otherwise, no, no. Which is what I'm saying. Was
You
it?
filled one out, but I'm saying, have you ever sent one to someone?
No.
Right? So why should August? We did
Yeah.
test it out, right? This was our main bet, right? That it has to talk like a human, it has to communicate in that same way, it has to interact in that same way. Like, so text you naturally. People send 3, 4 texts in one shot. They don't want like a response to all 3, 4 texts, separate. So all of that, like we had to think through. We did try like a couple of different formats, right? Like what if its responses are, what if it starts sending images? What if we try like buttons somewhere to sort of make it easy for people to answer? And every single time this main sort of response format that we had, the second we did anything that was not human, our engagement was just drop.
But if now it's become this easy to talk to August on WhatsApp, if you in future ever launch an app, wouldn't that be an unnecessary friction? You've gotten so many people become so comfortable and easy talking to August on WhatsApp. So you'll probably never move them to an app. Does
Yeah,
it
why do I
always?
move them to an
I don't know when there will probably be a constraint or the another problem I'd written in my sheet was the big risk of your reliance on WhatsApp as a service itself. Now there are many risks here. One of it must be on the lower side of the barrel, but I'm still asking you, this does build dependencies for you. You're also dependent on an LLM, you're dependent on WhatsApp, you're dependent on like few things that are very critical, but the infra doesn't belong to India. Tomorrow, if there was an issue, which is why I'm asking, if you were to then move to an app, this would become very challenging, right?
Sure. I mean, see, we have an app. We have people on WhatsApp. They're gonna just grow. So a lot of this is details, right? Like you worry about a lot more things when you're at like 10,000 users and you're trying to sort of scale that out and you still have the same existential risks. Now we're at 5 million users. We want to get to 1 billion users, right?
You said at some point you stopped worrying about it, basically. About
Yeah, a
what?
lot of these are like you as a founder, you have to select what you worry about in a day,
Got it. Got it.
right? And so for me, it's like, how do I get 1 million people to use my app now outside of India as like one of my worries rather than what am I going to do with these people who are happily using the product on WhatsApp?
Got it. Can empathy be engineered? Can Because for me, health was always about that, not just the medical advice, but when the doctor saw me and I saw the doctor and the hope and the care that the family doctor would The familiarity as well, actually. Sorry about that. That point is also important. Can all of this be engineered, or does it even need to be engineered when you're building a health AI company?
Your health AI companion absolutely needs empathy. It cannot be something that objectively sort of throws out facts. This is my personal belief. We have, again, tested this. Higher the empathy, better it works, better conversations are received. And I can make this argument like multiple ways, right? When you're talking to that doctor and they're doing a medical interview, they're not just cold extracting information from you. If they just objectively started asking you questions, there would be a lot of things that they would never learn about you. Right? They try to build a relationship so that you tell them you're comfortable with that family doctor. And so you're going to tell them more things that you would not otherwise. And that could or could not be relevant to what your issue is. And that is for them to decide. So even there, like it makes a case for why it needs to have empathy. The other way to sort of think about it is there are so many people, again, without access to a doctor, without access to a doctor with empathy, all of that, right? So do you just leave them at zero and say, no, humans are the only people that are allowed to have a degree of empathy and my AI should just be objectively stating things? That also just intuitively seems wrong.
But what have you done in the system? Is it conversation? Is it memory? What is it that has built the trust that we're talking about right now?
Everything has to come together. Like that's what makes this product hard, right? A lot of, so your accuracy, safety, memory, conversation style, all of your sort of document processing accuracy has to come together for you to be able to build trust, right? And like you can't just be like, throw this into an LLM and hope it says something, right? When you're looking at accuracy, you're looking at both sort of true positives, true negatives, false negatives. Which ones do you want to drive down to zero? Which ones are you sort of like okay with? How do you handle the ones where you're not sure? Are you okay saying no to the person? Are you okay taking a call that I will ship you a product that you think does not really work, right? Because I'm saying, hey, I can't process this thing or I can't sort of respond to this, but I'm not okay with shipping you a product that lies to you, right? That's one of our core sort of principles.
Got it. And since you operate across the world, not just India, I'm asking you this next question. Do you think Indians trust AI more than humans from health and doctors' perspective? From the other perspective, I have an answer. I've done a research, and Indians do trust AI more, especially ChatGPT. But and then the parallel question was comparatively to other countries. Do you think it's a lot?
Not something I've looked at, so that's not a question I can answer.
And the second one or the first one as well? Do you think Indians trust AI more than
Both
actual?
of them. I have no data one way or the other.
Got it. Okay, so there is nutrition and mental health also already coming up or already a part of August. Am I correct? Nutrition, because I've seen someone put a picture
Yeah.
of plates and
Yeah.
is this intentional to do like beyond symptom checks? Is this is this the way forward to go towards healthcare lifestyle related advice as well?
Not really. I think so. The nutrition thing is funny. People were sending photos of their food, and we were just like, "Yeah, we should process these." And then we built something that worked really well, so we shipped it, right? And you discover that only if you sort of take a photo of your food and you send it into August. So we don't really advertise our features very well. We're not doing any marketing. So it's not even like we're creating, like a performance marketing ad saying track your meals here. The mental health side, it ties more into empathy, right? Like our job is to hear you out, right? And not sort of actively like do the role of a therapist. We're working on something that makes that better. But a lot of it is because when something happens with your health, you want to talk. And because people were talking, right, you want to be able to at least hear them out, right? So it's building into sort of natural user behavior.
But there's no psychological advice coming on it as of now. It's more of a listening to, like, I hear you, I understand your anxiety kind of statement, right?
Yeah.
It's not doing a CBT on you is what I'm trying to understand. And the part where you said, and I was asking you, your biggest challenge is these multiple profiles in the same WhatsApp chat, right? Because you don't have an app. So people don't get to know the kind of stuff that goes behind before they get an answer on it. How do you build something like this? This is also just memory, or there is more to it? Like how do you distinguish this is a father talking about the daughter?
Absurdly hard, right? Once you get into the details of the problem statement, because you're looking at like some languages you have like are like gender neutral. So now that
Yeah.
becomes harder, right? Some of them are not. There could be multiple sons, right? That a person has. Now they're gonna refer to both of them as my son. Which son are they talking about?
Yeah.
People just randomly sort of come in 2 days later and they send a message. They expect it naturally to just be about the right person. And that's their expectation, and they're correct in having that expectation. But we need to sort of handle that in a way that we don't disappoint them. And this is just like a very small set of everything that you need to sort of think through and consider when you're building memory.
Okay, but how do you do it is what I'm trying to understand yet. What is the Is
That's a
that your
question I
mode? That's your
definitely can't
first
answer.
you can skip it. Okay, okay, no worries. Got it. So benchmark, like again, when we were talking, you said like it has met. I was asking about evals, I remember, and you said we have to do our own bit, and because obviously all the benchmarks have already been crossed. So you're saying AI is August AI has kind of met all the benchmarks, like the all the health parameter benchmarks on the tests of human versus AI for health advice.
Okay, so that's the interesting bit, right? Okay, if I give you a little bit of a landscape of benchmarks before I answer this question?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. You can deep dive into whatever you want.
Okay, because see, for the longest time, there were only two kinds of, like, there was only one kind of benchmark in healthcare, which is medical knowledge, right? So, which is like MedQA, MedMCQA, these are all like test questions, multiple choice. USMLE, again, multiple choice. USMLE is US Medical Licensing Examination, right? And so what you're basically doing is you're inputting that and you're asking it to choose A, B, C, or D, which is a very silly way to test an AI system, right? And even today, like those are the benchmarks that most sort of companies are looking at. And there we are at, like, we're at the highest in all of those, right? MedQA, MedMCQA, US Medical License Examination. We scored like 100% on the USMLE, every version of that benchmark, right? But that's not nearly enough because like I said, the conversation style matters. How you're communicating with August, and in that style of communication, is it getting you to the right sort of place matters, which requires like thinking about benchmarks differently. So, how are you doing conversational symptom checking, conversational triaging? So, triaging essentially getting you to the right physician. How are you doing that correctly requires like a whole different way of benchmarking. That's something we had to build. We published it November of last year, and that's what we use in house. Bench is like we use Healthbench's emergency escalation as like our public facing benchmark for safety. Internally, we have a lot more which are built along the lines of our conversational sort of diagnostics triaging benchmark because safety is like super important. And even on Healthbench, like we score a 1, we have like an F1 score of 1 on the emergency escalation.
How big is the team?
Currently 20 people.
And so many hard problems, and you're a solo founder. How does this work? Like, what is it that keeps you kind of grounded, so sane? Because there's always so much happening around you. Like, this is for all the founders who are building very difficult things in a very tough problems, tough scenario. India's not an easy market. I'm pretty sure it's still your primary market. I'm guessing this. I'm assuming. I don't know if it's correct, but health is difficult, AI is difficult, India is difficult, and we've tied all of these together. So how do you manage all of this?
It's fun. Like day to day is fun. And it's hard, right? Like you have bad days, you have good days. I'm not saying I walk through like a field of roses, right? It is incredibly hard. Let me put this infinitely better than how I did just now. I think you need to have your sources of energy as a founder,
Hmm.
right? And then you need to sort of recognize what they are and you need to make sure that there are enough of them in your life. Otherwise, you can't sustain doing a bunch of hard things. It's not just that, right? Like there's externalities that sort of cause you to take a lot of stress. You can't decide how good or bad a day is going to be.
Yeah.
So you need to find your sources of energy, your way of recovering, and I guess really stick to it.
Got
Support
it.
systems help.
What happened in August in the last 3 years, which has got you to trust AI so much? And I'm telling you, this observationally, I've seen you're very, very bullish on AI and the fact that AI could solve incredible problems right now and do them probably much better than human. That's not what you've said. I'm saying observationally, I felt it. What's happened in the last 3 years that's got your trust so high in AI?
My trust on AI is not super high. Okay. It is appropriately calibrated to where it is today for what we share, which is why we have like a lot of evals benchmarks to make sure August is performing the way it's performing and we obsess over like quality, accuracy, safety. Essentially, you have like the AI today has like genius level intelligence in parts. But again, we're all solving alignment problems. If it's not aligned properly, it doesn't actually work. So everybody has access to the same technology that we do. We are still able to ship like a better quality product than anybody else out there in for what August is. So a lot of that requires like a different way of thinking and building into sort of while acknowledging the current limitations and capabilities of the product, right? Or of the tech. That being said, like you have to extrapolate out, right? And if we extrapolate out just the rate of change that we have seen with AI, right? It's massive, it's incredible. 3.5, the GPT 3.5, which launched and sort of changed the world because ChatGPT just blew up, today is a joke compared to the models that we have. For me, I was bullish on the fact that the problem that my users were feeling, which was like they did not have anybody to talk to, if I kept safety in mind and sort of these principles of I'm okay saying no, I'm okay shipping a product that doesn't work, I can give them something, right? And then that something gets better over time. Now, will this plateau out? Maybe. Nobody knows, right? But can we take an educated bet that no, it's going to get better? Yes. And is it tangibly delivering like real world value and solving real world cases? Yes, like my team uses so much AI to code.
Yeah, fair. I remembered my question. It was about the death valley of a startup, right? Before you got funded.
Yeah.
Were there situations where it got very difficult for you to run it or you thought of closing it?
But yeah, no, I bootstrapped the company for 2 years, and for 2 years, nobody believed that like something like this could be built, right? They definitely didn't believe that something like this could be built out of India, that we could build like the strongest health AI engine out of India. But since July of 23, the strongest health AI has been built out of India. It has been almost, right? I think it was only in March, April 24 that people started buying it.
I'll just ask you one last and we'll wrap it up. How do you measure August is actually improving health outcomes? Like what's that thing that is it people telling you that it's been great? Is your team using what is that thing that tells you 4 million people are actually getting value?
So I'm the first user of August, right? Like a lot of what August is today, I built for who would I have wanted in those 4 months that I was living with a misdiagnosis. So I constantly sort of test the product. Does it work? Does it not work? And a lot of the taste and opinions there sort of flow in from how I think it should work. Obviously, once you scale it out, like people have different expectations. So we talk to a lot of users. They tell August if August is messing up, right? So you can get enough signals to know if you're meaningfully adding value. And then you have to sort of figure out what are you okay with, right? Like if somebody who doesn't have anybody to talk to is talking to August about some issue that they would not have talked to anybody about, is that adding value? Do we need to really quantify it and say X is happening at this stage? Not really, right? But when we talk to people and they have stuck around with us for, over a year, there is some value that they're deriving from.
Yeah, but is there a metric that you feel is your top key metric on the tangible part I'm saying? Qualitative, I've understood that also helps answer the question. I'm saying quantitatively, is there something you measure?
It's difficult to quantify without a control group. So what like some of the research bits that we're working on is to quantify it, right? But those obviously have a much longer timeline than just picking up the phone and talking to 50 people.
Okay, last question. What are you excited about in 2026? With August or in general, it's just getting to know you better.
I think, see, for 2025 for us was we got a lot of really good people in the team. We were able to build out a lot of the things that we wanted because, like I said, let 30 people in for 6 months, right? Like 30 people a day in 6 months straight because we cared about like what is the accuracy and what is the safety. Like now we're at that place where we feel like we've hit a lot of the evals that we think were bare minimum required to be clear, particularly on safety. And we're just going to go after growth. So that's obviously a very exciting time because you're able to take something that you're happy with and scale it out. Obviously, we have a lot of improvements to do, but just being able to, I think, fire on all cylinders is going to be pretty cool.
Next year. All right. All the best for that. On that note, we'll wrap up so that you can take care of your health. Thank you for making the time to have this conversation. I really enjoyed it. Even if we've spoken before and stuff, like I really still got a deeper view on August. So thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, this was fun for me as well. Thank you so much for having me on.